Right. I mean, this is what they say in the Manosphere. I'm walking away. There's no point in dealing with women. Don't even bother having one night stands. Everything's a nightmare. You're either going to end up in jail or you're going to get
What a
effed if you get married.
loser ass movement with a loser ass message.
But I actually get the message because it is rough out there. Don't you think? I mean, I agree with you. We've both been married.
I've had a lot of volatile relationships,
Yep.
and I will tell you 100% that is the stupidest, most throwing the flag in loser
I agree.
ass beta male
I
message
agree.
there is. The Manosphere is a joke. All these dudes who try to teach other beta males how to be beta males, and all these beta males are sitting around talking about being alpha males. It's like the biggest circle jerk of bullshit.
Yeah. I actually think they worship women. I call it the vagosphere. That's what it really is. It's just a bunch of pussy worshippers. Yeah, that's right. I agree with you. See, you and I have something in common. We've both been through. You've been married. You have kids, and but you wouldn't advise men don't do it. That's not your advice to young men.
Definitely
don't
would
do
not
it.
be my advice at all.
And I'm sure that you would say with me, like, I don't regret having kids, and I love them very much, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Absolutely.
Even though it hasn't been perfect.
I don't know very much about the Manosphere, but probably like real men don't need the Manosphere to get women. I assume
they give men bad advice.
And they defer blame, right? Like you're responsible for your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if she's mean or she likes other dudes more. You like whatever it is. It all revolves around blaming somebody else for your life situation.
Well, I think it's okay. I think it's okay to have a group of men. I don't think the Manosphere does this. It's okay to have a group of men, even online, when you're going through something, who can help you out and be sympathetic and kind of kick it around. Like, what do I do in this situation? Right. But that's what the Manosphere should be. Like a pub used to be, right? Where a bunch of guys can go. They could shoot the shit. They might get into a fight. They might drink too much, but there's a brotherhood, you know what I mean, where we're not judging everyone. And you could do a little locker room talk and hash it out. I think there's a place for that on the internet. But the Manosphere has become just like a woman-worshipping crazy zone where they're telling men the first thing you do to a woman is start complaining about women. That ain't going to work with women.
I feel like it's somewhat important to find your own way with women.
By the way, can I say, I'm not sure Flow State's name, but I went head-to-head with this guy, and then he tells me, Taylor. He's picking his fingernails with like a Bowie knife. I mean, you're like, yeah, you're a man, obviously. It's cool. You know what I mean?
Scares me, man.
But you do scare like.
It was just
I wouldn't fuck with you IRL. I always say
that. I was working on my truck last night again more, and like my hands are gross.
Yeah,
I got to do something while I'm sitting here.
You would be a great guy because you look the part. I'm more of like a whatever, sophisticated intellectual or whatever burnout. But you're like, huh?
So is that how you see yourself? But I was just taking.
Well, but I mean, there's two types of masculinity. I think I'm masculine, but I'm like educated, whatever, intellectual. There's different types, and you're more of a blue collar guy. I don't think you feel. Some blue collar guys feel like guys like me are assholes. Just look at me, right? Like I'm rich. I
also have an economics degree, so even though
I'm wrong about that.
Your assessment is correct, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've underperformed in areas.
Yeah, no, and you're obviously a smart guy. But I'm just saying you'd be very appealing, and I'm not saying in a gay way, to like my sons because you're like a young, big, strong guy who can fight in street fights. So I don't think I'm saying hey you're not a man, or you're saying to me, but you can. I'm not a man, but I think that young men need guys like us who've had experience with women and can say, don't listen to that bullshit. Actually, I think guys like us could get younger guys laid in a second because we can tell them, actually, all this stuff that is given as advice, just don't do it. Ignore it. That'll actually get you chicks. Nobody wants to hear you complain that you're not tall enough for a girl. If you're short, just go with being short. You know what I mean? Don't fucking.
You just be you and do your thing.
That's
and
right.
Be confident in you, and don't be looking around the Manosphere trying to figure out who the fuck to be.
Right. And my thing is, follow your passions. Follow your passions, and women will come around because a man who's doing something that he wants to do. Don't be saying, looking in the mirror, how can I fix this, do makeup and all this shit, because I want a girl, because that's what the least they want. They want a man who is almost ignoring them. You know what I mean? Is not looking for.
They're not looking for somebody to attach to them so they
right.
can be the best thing in his life. They want somebody that got shit going on. They join that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, my little secret I used to tell kids when I was a Catholic school teacher is consider like saying you're interested in becoming a priest. Because chicks, and chicks go crazy because
you were a priest or you were considering
no
it?
I was like, they call it discerning, right? So I'd go to a lot of retreats and stuff, but chicks find that fascinating because you're saying actually maybe not on the whole female thing, and they find that extremely attractive, oddly enough. Yeah, because I'm saying if you pay to, the worst thing you can do to a woman is sort of worship her because she doesn't want that because she's not fit for it. You know what I mean?
Nobody wants.
You don't want a mommy. No one wants to be your mommy because you got mommy issues. You can worship a woman by saying, like, you're gorgeous, but you don't want to be like, I'm needy. Could you help put me back together? You know what I mean?
Certainly. Would you say the same would be true for, like, when you meet a woman and she said, I'm thinking about being a nun? Did that make her more attractive? Like, if she thought about being a nun?
I never knew a female who was becoming a nun.
Really?
I wouldn't think it would work the same way that way because I mean, like you're married, you know that. I mean, at least for me, when I got a ring on my finger, it seemed like all of a sudden
you got the interest.
Like it picks up, right?
Yeah,
like,
because you're safe. You're safe,
up,
right? You're safe. Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's perceived as you have perceived value straight out the gate.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I never really, when I had the ring on my finger, I don't think I was ever married, but I didn't really notice that because I was busy. I had kids, you know. I didn't even actually look around.
Which that's the thing that really brings. If you ever play the single mom circuit at the park, taking a little kid to the park, that's a whole world I discovered after my divorce.
Right, and it's a scary world, though, isn't it?
No, I enjoyed the world.
Well, I mean, they're all going to have issues, though, right?
Fuck, I still do enjoy the world. I'm with one of them still to this day. I'm at the park.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, well, so Ben.
But that's an interesting thing. Like, you discovered it, right? But, like, no one in the Manosphere is going to tell you that, right? Like, and the other thing I discovered, Taylor, is I'm an older guy. I figured there's zero interest in me. And if there's going to be interest, it's 50-year-olds, right? But there are a lot of girls in their 20s who find older, even much older men, quite compelling. Now, that can be tricky because it's a daddy thing, too. But it's not like there's no interest.
Men age well.
Yeah, right.
Women,
and I can still make babies, right? And I've got a track record of 6, so like I can deliver the goods. But I'm not saying I can compete with a guy like you. But like in a certain way, they don't really care.
I'm not 6'8".
Yeah, right.
So who's this Malik character? What kind of games does she play?
Yeah, that's an example, like Malik, right? So are we playing games? It's on the internet. Are we playing games?
No.
Yeah. Does she like it? Yeah, she likes it.
No, not internet games. Like, she's a Twitch streamer, right?
Yeah, she's a Twitch streamer,
so
but she's not an e-girl. She's not just all about like cock teasing. She's
not one of those chicks who streams from her little kiddie pool.
No, I mean, she does a little bit of that stuff, but I mean, she's more about just her being her. She she doesn't wear a bait. It's not about like degrading herself. It's not like a kind of soft core.
That's for you to do.
I mean, I'm sure there are guys watching who are getting their yucks on it, but she's not, you know what I mean? She's just a person having an interaction with chat. She's like a friend.
I do think it's worth wasn't Moog, whoever was up here earlier asking about the domination thing. I do think it, like, I see what you're saying, and I also at the same time when you said that, I kind of thought like, well, that's a dangerous sentiment to be spreading.
Yeah, right. Well, the guy said the thing about the fantasies, right? Okay, that doesn't mean that it's carte blanche for like actual guys who are going to violently attack women. But there is a dimension. You know, when I've been on the Manosphere, right? And they're talking about consent to this degree, right? We both been married. Well, all three of us are married men. Where they're saying if you're with a woman and you are in her and she's been totally consensual and you're in the act, that she can withdraw consent at any moment, including right at the end, and you have to make do. I mean, that's ridiculous at a certain point. Are we in the game here or not?
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I'm not gonna. It's not an arguing point. I'm gonna take up.
Right? Yeah, I get you. But you know what I'm saying. And girls don't. Let's say you're in the hotel bar, right? And she starts going to her room. Like, do you have to necessarily ask 100 times if she looks like she wants to go to her?
Have her sign the consent form.
Yeah, right. That's what you have to do. You have to go online, get your lawyer, and like time stamp it every 3 minutes. Well, they don't like that, right? Because they see you as weak. Like, a girl wants to be taken at a certain point. Sorry. That's the problem with premarital sex, because once you go for the hoop, you better hope you deliver, because if she ain't happy, you're going to jail. And that's part of the fun of it, in my opinion. But that's hot, right? When you get out of jail. When you get out of jail, she'll be waiting for more.
Though. I've never, my good lays, my bad lays, I've never gone to jail for it.
Right, because I think you probably delivered on the goods, right? You don't hesitate.
You've never done. If you say that, then you've never done the drugs that I've done.
Right, or if she's on enough drugs in the morning, no one really knows what happened. But whatever. I mean, I've been with guys who are in that situation where, what is consent when you're doing drugs, right? She could say, I was drugged. How's anyone going to prove it, right?
What would this?
And I get guys who are like nervous about that, right? Is it worth it going to jail and having your reputation, your job will get lost for that?
What would the debate topic?
You got to know if she's a good girl. If she's a good girl, okay, fine. But if she's one of these,
not so erudite would have a debate with you on this topic.
Yeah, I did have a debate. I came in because she was lecturing everyone on Alex's panel, and I said, why don't you let the men talk? It's the Manosphere. And I also said, you're the type that likes it hard, and you're not so into consent. And then I got booted off the panel. It was true, though. I could tell she's wound up.
I would have booted you, too.
Well, that's part of the, it's just the fucking internet. And then I came on another stream she was on, and she accused me. Well, listen to this. She accused me of, what do you call it? Sexual harassment, because everyone was talking about sexual preferences. And I said, well, do you prefer soft? See, it's an easy one. And they said that's sexual harassment.
That you asked the question?
Well, I said, do you prefer because I was making the point that to some degree, sex is a violent act in which one is penetrating the other person in an intimate way. What you know what the word vagina means in Latin?
No, sir.
The sheath of the sword, right? So it does have a violent aspect to it. I mean,
I think most women prefer it when you wad your whiskey dick up like an old McDonald's receipt and try to just shove it in.
Right. Some do like that. Some do like it that way, right? It's easier to handle. But, I mean, there's an appeal, obviously, to, right? You can hurt a girl that way. I get it if you're too enthusiastic. But, I don't know. But you can't say that there's no aspect of it that is. But another thing in the Manosphere, I do agree with this. Like, a lot of these guys are like really concerned with the size, half inch. Girls don't really care about that. No, I don't think.
Yeah.
But guys are concerned about that. Girls don't care. It's what you do with it, right?
Ben, you need to.
I'm bringing some truth.
Why don't you take over the Manosphere? Like, these are like.
Yeah.
How don't you just go?
Me and Taylor should take over the Manosphere. We could single-handedly take over the Manosphere.
Like, do a stream. Like, hey, we're in charge. We're here. And
tell these young men to throw out all these fucking books that they have about the way they're going to get laid, and actually just do what we say. Do what we say. That's right.
Your next stream, taking over the Manosphere.
Yeah. You know what I tell you your number one thing is? To get a girl thinking like, yeah, this is the guy. Take care of your siblings and take care of your cousins and nephews. Be around kids. Take them to the playground. Be a great uncle or whatever. Because chicks will. I'm not saying be a weirdo and go to the playground and just go, hey, kiddies, I'm here. Anyone want some candy?
If they're not your kids or like your nieces and nephews, you are a weirdo if you're interacting with them. If you're just a regular ass grown ass man interacting with kids.
Yeah, well, but I mean, there's
very
church
few circumstances where you're not the weirdo.
That's actually not true. I mean, I worked in a daycare center. I worked in an elementary school. You know, when you're in a church picnic or whatever, you can take all the kids and play a game with them. I guess now people would think you're a pedophile.
Catholic of you.
But it's fun to play with kids. Or I'm saying, like, instead of going to the gym, go hang out with the Mexicans who are playing soccer out in the park, and they'll have kids there and women there and older people there. That's a lot healthier. You'll get a better mix than just being in the gym with all dudes looking at themselves, oiling themselves up. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying you get great exercise and social
The amount of
skills.
dudes at a gym who are checking themselves out in the mirror publicly is unbearably cringe.
Oh, okay, so you agree with me. Yeah, it's weird. A girl doesn't want to be with a guy who's too obsessed with his looks, right? Who's like plucking all of his hairs. And, you know what I mean? Like, it's unmanly, right?
Unmanly, yeah.
I always ask the question, like with a vehicle, what's more appealing to a chick? A perfect brand new like F-150 right out of the dealership, or a piece of shit F-150 that you'll put anything in and drag anything around in? And to some extent, both, but it's not a loser if you just don't give a shit about things.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the movie, what's it, Office Space?
Yes, I know that movie.
It's brilliant, right? You just stop giving a shit and then everything comes to you, kind of.
Yeah, or like Bob Dylan at a certain point. He's not an attractive guy, but at a certain point it was like he just didn't care what he looked like. And it was very appealing because that was a kind of hippie look, right?
Well, I mean, but I mean, that sort of carries through what I was saying earlier, and we're agreeing with is that just do you, right?
Yeah, right.
There's no, because like, if you look at Neil Young or Tom Petty or AC/DC, like, who would have thought, you know what, you should be a vocalist?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right. Unconventional voice, but he got out there, right?
Yeah. The voice. So Ben,
I mean, Neil Young, I love Neil Young, but if that was your homie and you're like, hey, listen to this song I wrote, you'd be like, dude, stop.
You are not going to make it as a vocalist. Yeah.
I like his voice. Isn't it nice? It's kind of
it's strange though. I don't know if I'd call it nice, but I like his music a lot.
Yeah.
As much as he as a personality is trying to ruin his music for me, I still like his music a lot.
Well, how about this for a take on the Manosphere? A lot of people say you got to meet a lot of chicks right away. If you've been like doing video games and you're, you know what I mean, not connected, you got to start going out there and cold approaching. They call it cold approaching, like a sales approach to chicks. I actually think the first thing you should do is get to know some guys your own age, and like that's easier. You know what I mean? Because the same kind of social skills, even though
you've done that though, right? Like,
I grew up with 3 brothers, so we did it naturally. But a lot of kids these days don't have those social skills. You know, you're an only child. You grew up on the internet. I see it. When I was a kid, everyone was playing in the neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Now you see it. Nobody's out.
Now the only one riding bikes are crackheads.
Yeah.
They got motorized scooters here.
Yeah.
They charge their phones at the gas station.
But a lot of times, what we thought was in the 80s, what we thought was the problem was kids having too much sex. Now the problem is they fear the opposite sex, you know? And the way it's going, we're going to be like Japan, where no one has sex and everyone has internet, you know, stuff.
Ugh.
Not healthy.
Yeah, Japan could have been great.
Because it's too scary for them. You know what I mean? It's too scary for them.
Why would you talk to a girl when you could have sex with this tentacle?
Right. I don't understand it, but apparently they do. Even Grace, she has a hard time with young men, and I tell them, like, you know, make your case, shoot your shot. I don't have a problem with you saying that she's pretty. You should. But they get nervous and they don't want to do it. Even on the internet, they won't do it.
Well, it would kind of be an awkward addition to the game. If you're trying to spit game and her dad's right there critiquing your game, I mean, that's just going to fuck you right up.
Yeah, I try to get out of there, but sometimes I'm like, I have to, like, kind of tell them, like, come on, go ahead. Come on. Yeah, I get you.
You did that.
But I call it like, they used to have in the 50s, the porch talk. If a guy's saying, like, I would like to go out with your daughter, you give him a porch talk. You give him a little vetting and say, like, what are your intentions? And he says,
cleaning your hand with a knife.
Right. Well, it is an appealing thing to say, like, okay, guys who knows how to use tools. As a potential father-in-law, that's a plus for me. And you could defend her.
Are you trying to set me up with your daughter?
No. She's free. She's back here. You can make your case.
Is she
I don't have any. Huh?
Is Grace streaming today?
I am trying to, Taylor, I'm trying to set you up with my sons. They need they've been alienated from me by their mother. And they need a mentor to, teach them how to, because they don't trust me because their mother told them I was scary and crazy and all this stuff. So I'm trying to set them up with, father figures. Because I don't think I do believe Hillary Clinton was right to say, like, it takes a village. To some degree, it takes a village, yeah. Maybe an internet village.
Well, I do have a channel.
Yeah, I'll have them come by. I feel bad. I a lot of people just hate the young generation, the Zoomers, right? And I'm like, well, they're a product of their environment.
Right.
So,
Who's to blame for that?
yeah, you could, but a lot of times they blame older people as if, like, they don't have a part to play.
But
okay, we all have a part to play.
There's some sort of break in the logic, though, when an older generation is shit talking the generation they raised.
Yeah, right.
Like, well, if you don't like the output, you made it.
Right, that's right. But it's also the younger generation's responsibility to say, like, okay, well, maybe you didn't get everything perfect, but maybe you can't critique the older generation if you're just acting like a victim too, right? Because then the cycle never ends.
I was raised by boomers. They're quite the narcissistic, self-important generation.
Yeah. But, you could trash boomers, but boomers did bring a lot of good stuff into the world, and not all of them were totally hedonistic and selfish, and they brought a lot of kids into the world. The millennial generation.
Broad strokes condemnation like that is going to always be wrong.
Yeah. But there are things you can see in millennials. You can notice patterns. I'm Gen X. There's patterns. Zoomers have certain patterns. But yeah, any generation that condemns another generation it's fundamentally problematic. It's like a father who condemns his own son. Yeah, I don't know how you can do that, but it happens. A lot of people do it.
I do it.
I'm alienated from my son, but I love him very much.
I only have a daughter, so I don't know, but I'd imagine it's a different dynamic with your son.
I have 4 sons. And my older son was really alienated because he took his mother's side, which I understand. The oldest son, he's going to be protecting his mother. And she told him lies, and he bought them. But whatever.
It's sort of a all black or all white perspective on things that's definitely going to be wrong if it's not more nuanced. Because real life is more nuanced than the way that you're redescribing it.
Well, often it is, but sometimes it can be pretty. Can be pretty extreme,
but generally it's not. And I don't know your situation at all, and I don't think it's my business. So I'm not really trying to make it about your situation.
What I would say a lot of times in a relationship that's not working, and you could test this in your own situation. A lot of times it comes from the family of origin. So there are women who, because of their family, either have mommy issues, daddy issues, or both, and then that does play out in a way that, like in my case, I never really had a chance because I was immediately seen in the light of the previous issues. You know what I mean? The previous trauma. And I had similar trauma, which is why I thought it was like normal. But I think I worked through it over time, and she stayed locked in it over time. And so, it gets to a point where, yeah, it's nuanced, but then at a certain point, years and years in. Well, your situation, right? You'd say at a certain point, we can't keep this together, even though we wanted to.
My divorce is as unnuanced as they get. But even then, like, I know for me, I had to go through bad relationships to understand where I suck.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. I agree. And I would say, like Steven Crowder, like, I'm the one who freely entered into this relationship. I may have been manipulated into it, but I'm not a victim. I can't be a victim of my own choice.
Who would want to be?
Right. But you can make mistakes and not see things. And, you know, when you wake up to it, you can't just say, well, I'm stuck. You gotta say, like, because in my case, my kids were being abused. So it's like, well, it's certainly not their fault. Whoever's fault it is, it's certainly not their fault. So I got to get them out of it. And
It
whatever.
might be if the little fuckers wouldn't stop making people mad.
Yeah, that's true. Kids can be wrong too.
I'm kidding.
It is true.
But
well,
yeah,
it
kids
is
can be
true.
assholes, but I
Kids
said
can
that
be
as a
assholes.
joke.
They're not like that's a problem in our culture. I think to some degree, there's this kind of idea that women and children are always victims and they can never be wrong, and they
And I haven't
can.
seen
Not
the
babies,
Steven
but
Crowder thing intentionally. Like I'm intentionally not giving it attention, but it sounds to me like he's the victim.
yeah, it's interesting you take that perspective because almost no one does.
Because I know that I've experienced in my own divorce and a lot of other places where a woman will try to become,
Right.
She'll try to get that out of you.
Right.
And if you give it to her, I mean, it's a setup, right? So
Yes.
if
Yeah.
you're trying to provoke a poor response,
Right, especially if it's like on camera, right?
right?
To me, the classic example is go ahead, good.
Well, I was just gonna say I view it in perspective of they have kids, right? So who's like she decided to put this out there and drag the whole family through it,
Yeah.
including their kids.
Right.
Like I said, I haven't seen the video. I don't know what happened. I don't know anything about it, but just knowing that she took the whole thing public like that,
Right.
tells me enough.
But she'll say that because he did make a blanket statement when he knew it was about to break, saying, I am going through a divorce. But he tried to protect it from being personal, but she saw that as a green light. In the same way, she filed for the divorce, but he had spoken to a lawyer a month before. And who wouldn't when they see like if you're this type, you're this level of a guy.
I filed. You should always be the first to file.
Right, right. And him not filing is a sign that he actually wasn't trying to win. He was trying to say, what can we do? It's hard to read it otherwise. Well, I mean, I'm sure his lawyer told him what you said, which is the first to file is the best situation for you, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And he held back, and then she filed, and then okay, so.
But I mean, who knows why? I mean, that's all I'm doing is trying to put into this because who knows why he didn't file? Maybe there's a lot. There could be a lot of variables in people's lives. It's not.
Yeah, and maybe he didn't want to file because his reputation was conservative, so he's anti-divorce.
I don't assume that his altruistic intentions out of it.
But everyone assumes he has bad intentions, and that is what happens in our culture a lot of times. If a man, like for example, I give you an example that maybe we all know. Sometimes you'll get home from work, you're tired or whatever, but you're not something, and a woman will be just sort of stewing on something, and she'll say, "Oh, it seems like you're angry," right? And you're like, "No, I'm not angry," right? And she'll say, "Well, it seems like you're angry," right? And at a certain point, you're like, "Can you stop?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, see, I knew you were angry." Right? And then it just makes you want to fucking pull your hair out. She's starting shit with you, but she wants to make it look like you are.
She's just trying to help, right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're saying, I didn't come into this angry, but what the hell are you doing?
One more fucking time, something's going to be wrong.
Right. And another one, and I'm not trying to pick on women, but the premenstrual, menstrual, and after menstrual can be half of the month. And all behaviors are attributed to that. Like, so 50% of the time we're together, you can do whatever you want, and I'm to you're free. And then when you get pregnant, there's another 9 months straight where it's all whatever. It's just the hormones. That's not. That can't be.
Anytime a woman ever is the tiniest bit upset, the first second that you notice she's upset about something, ask her if she's on her period, and then walk away.
But I mean, yeah, I get it, right? It can, but that can be an easy way to win an argument. Oh, you're.
I'm just kidding.
Don't
do that. That's bad advice.